Joining us now, Sky News International Affairs editor Dominic Waghorn, who is in Turkey for us. Dominic, you were just inside of Iran. What did you see?
Yeah, we were inside Iran for a week. We were given a very rare visa, only the second international team to be allowed into the country. It was a difficult journey to get in. It took 48 hours from London to Tehran. When we were there, what we saw was a city that is being bombarded regularly by Israel and America, whose people are tense, subdued and terrified, many of them, as they hear the sort of sound of bombardment that goes off pretty much every hour. You hear a very loud explosion. It was not safe anywhere, didn't feel safe anywhere, because you don't know where the bombs are going to come in next. As far as the officials are concerned, we had a couple of interviews with Foreign Ministry spokesman and a diplomat, and sort of tying into what we're hearing today from Donald Trump, there was a real reluctance amongst the Iranian officials to get drawn into diplomacy. What they say is they feel that they have been hoodwinked by the Americans twice, using diplomacy as a kind of masquerade, a kind of charade, during which the Americans, they say, were preparing to attack them and then did attack them when talks were underway, and they would be very reluctant to get drawn into further diplomacy, which I think makes me fairly sceptical about what we're hearing from the American president today.
Did you get any sense, Dominic, that the Ayatollah was alive and in charge and able to give orders that were listened to across the regime?
I mean, that was very interesting. So the new Ayatollah, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the assassinated Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who's ruled Iran for 36 years until he was assassinated on the first day of this war. His picture, Mojtaba's picture, is everywhere, wherever you go in Tehran, up on huge banners, some of them sort of showing his father handing him the sort of baton of power to his son. But we haven't seen him or heard from him, only a written statement that was his speech on Nowruz, the Persian New Year. So I asked Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister, has he seen him? He said he hadn't, but he said he was healthy and in charge. And I said, but why haven't we seen him? There was a bit of an awkward pause, and he said, well, you will see him when the time is right. So I think there's a lot of speculation about whether he is well, whether he is alive even, and if he is well, how damaged he is, how injured he is, and whether he's able to call the shots. I think away from that, the impression we do have, though, that the leadership is badly battered, and obviously many of the leaders and the officials have been killed in this sort of constant assassination campaign. But as each one is assassinated, another one steps forward to replace him, and we seem to be seeing a leadership fairly effective in terms of responding to attacks from Israel. For instance, the attack on the gas field in the south of the country, that was responded to swiftly in a way that was sort of strategically coordinated and logical, going after the Ras Laffan gas plant in Qatar. So although it's taking a beating, the government there is sort of digging in its heels, is calling the shots, and seems to be confident at the moment it has the upper hand because it has that stranglehold on that key waterway, the Strait of Hormuz.
Were you able to talk to anybody who you felt was able to give you an honest opinion, individuals, regular Iranians, about the war and how they felt about the regime and what they wanted?
It was interesting because you have to ask for permission to film in places, but beyond that, you're not really kind of controlled in what you can do. We had a translator. There's no real government minder who goes with you, and you can operate as much as you want in the area where you're given permission to film. So that was at the site of a airstrike, it was in a market, it was in one of the big funerals that we went to. And people are reluctant to talk to you, so that the constraint really is that people won't go on camera to talk to you. But off camera, they are prepared to share their concerns and their fears. And some of them said that they clearly were resentful of the government, and that resentment led, of course, to massive protests back in January and February, we saw tens of thousands of Iranians come out on the streets who were then gunned down by their own security forces. One man said to us off camera that the leadership, the dictatorship, he called it, in Tehran is extreme, and he hopes it goes after the war. Another person said she just really hopes that we can see change in Iran. So there is that sense of resentment amongst some people. Others, though, are very much supportive of the regime. of the government, and they feel that their future, I guess, is bound up with the future of the leadership. Some of them are on the payroll, some of them just sort of ideological supporters. Now, there are a lot of Iranians in the middle there, of course, who didn't come out to march, but don't actively support the government. And they, I think many of them feel that the attacks on their country are not really aimed at the government. They are taking it rather personally, as you would if you feel the house next to you might go up in smoke at any moment, or your children could be killed on the way back from school. And in a sense, I think that is moving a public opinion to support the government and making it easier for the government to retain control. And of course, at a time of war, it's easier to suppress unrest. So if anything, I think the air campaign being waged against Iran is strengthening the government there.
One last question. Was there mass destruction? Was life operating in any sense of normalcy, or is everybody inside? What's it like day to day there?
A lot of people have left. I'd say about a third of the city has left. It will give you a sense of a weird kind of duality of living there. On the roof of our hotel on the last Tuesday before Nowruz, the Persian New Year, that is fireworks night. Now, the police had urged people not to let off fireworks, but a lot of them were. And from the roof of our hotel, we could see fireworks going up in the air, but also airstrikes coming in, big explosions on the skyline, and drones flying across our field of vision. So it gives a sense there that even though they're under bombardment, Iranians are determined to carry on with life as much as they can. Having said that, there is a real sense of fear and a kind of tension in the air that goes back, I think, to those protests, but of course, because of the dangers of living under this bombardment. And it has to be stressed that the Israelis and the Americans are using very big bombs on residential areas in a city. So they are going after cleared targets. We went to one place where the Basij, the paramilitary volunteer group, was based. Local residents said, yes, that they were there. But an entire city block had been devastated, and some missiles had come down in clearly civilian apartment blocks. We spoke to a man whose 35-year-old daughter had been at home when that happened, and he was very angry and very upset, and he said he hoped that something similar would happen to Donald Trump, to Benjamin Netanyahu. So I think the point to stress is here, although it's being presented as a sort of campaign of precision targeting, on the ground 2,000-pound bombs have a massive blast radius, and they affect a lot of people, and ordinary civilians are feeling the brunt of that, just psychologically living with the fear of, their neighbours could be next, some of them directly and tragically losing their lives or losing their children's lives.
Yeah. Dominic, thank you very much. Really happy you were able to bring us that.